All right, hey guys, Andrew here with Nashville Severe Weather. Got Will along here with me, and we're watching what probably will be a severe thunderstorm warning here pretty soon for Nashville and Williamson County, or at least parts of those. And the reason being, we have some strong gusty winds that are coming down, potentially coming down to the surface with these storms as they come into Nashville. So let's go over to the velocity mode. We'll see if any warnings pop up here in just a second. But right now, what we're focusing on is areas like this. You see these dark blues here, and these are winds that, at least aloft, are approaching 90 miles per hour up here around the Natchez Trace Bridge, around coming into the Grassland area. And so that's going to be potentially some winds that could come down to the surface here in these heavy downpours that are coming through the West Franklin area there. And it looks like a warning coming out now. So we'll see a polygon for that severe thunderstorm warning. And that's going to be for winds of 70 miles per hour potentially for Cheatham, Davidson, Robertson, Sumner, and parts of Williamson. So this is going to be for this line here, the one we've been watching come in from the west. And that line now is coming up I-40 and is coming into Franklin now. So you want to be sure that you're away from windows with this line of storms as it comes through, because winds could gust up to 70 miles per hour as it comes through, and it may happen very quickly, and you may get some wind damage as that comes in. So again, severe thunderstorm warning that's going to pop up here in just a minute, but that's going to be until 11:45, and there's your polygon there, and that's going to be for Williamson County, a small part of Williamson County, and then a good solid part of Davidson County. And here's our new radar sweep coming around, but that's going to be for strong damaging wind gusts that come in here through Bellevue, the I-40 Charlotte exit right now, Bells Bend, Scottsboro, moving on up to the old Fontenelle property, Haynes, and downtown Nashville, and then on up to the northeast around Joelton, Millersville, Madison, Goodlettsville, Inglewood. All right, so that's what we're looking at, is a strong damaging wind threat, and that is the primary concern right now, and has been for the past several days as we've been watching this line develop back to our west. It's been a damaging wind producer for sure. All right, so here's where this is. Strong damaging winds back here west around the approaching John C. Toone Airport, and there's Bells Bend there. And these winds are approaching 75 miles per hour, maybe even higher, 85, 90 up there around, about 1,000, 1,500 feet off the ground. And again, those could be brought down to the surface as they move off to the northeast. Here's down in the Pasco area, we're looking at about 65 miles per hour. So it's really cranking up out there as far as the winds go. So that's what we are watching now. Let's back out a little bit, and we see that we also have a second line of storms. We're not terribly concerned about this one yet. That's back around the Tennessee River. Our primary concern is right here in Williamson County and Davidson County with this line coming through, and we expect things to calm down as far as the rain, thunder, lightning, and storm winds after this passes. Our tornado threat goes down considerably. However, the strong gusty, what we call gradient winds, look to continue for a while. All right, so let's take a look at the polygon again and see kind of who's in and who's out. Really, all of western Davidson County is inside this thing, all the way from Goodlettsville, Millersville, Joelton, Bells Bend, downtown Nashville, Belmead, and on up toward Madison. If you're in downtown Nashville right now, you want to be inside. So I know it's about lunchtime, starting to venture out to head to lunch. Wouldn't do that right now. You don't want to be on the streets between all the buildings and everything. That'll kind of help to tunnel the wind through there. And it's going to be pretty gusty in downtown Nashville here shortly. So let's take a look at these winds again. Right here around Bells Bend, we could easily have some straight line wind damage. As you know, some of these winds approaching 80 miles per hour could be brought down to the ground. And that would definitely produce some damage to trees and power lines and that kind of thing. And then back to the west there, I think this is contamination, but back down to the south around Bellevue, 65 to 70 miles per hour there in Bellevue. New sweep coming around. And yeah, it looks like Bells Bend, still seeing those 70 to 80 mile per hour winds there around Bells Bend. And then down toward I-40 Charlotte, 62 miles per hour there as well. National Weather Service is saying that the radar is seeing some very strong velocities in northern Williamson County, southwestern Davidson County, and that's around 1,700 feet in the air above the ground. And that's what we're seeing here on radar as well, 66, 70, 75 mile per hour winds. And as we move on down toward the grassland area, 84 miles per hour. That's right over here around Laurel Brook and just southeast of Horseshoe Bend, 84, 85 miles per hour possible there around the Laurel Brook subdivision. And that's going to be moving up into Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Otter Creek, Percy Warner Park, Tyne Boulevard, Radnor Lake here in just a little bit. But again, that's winds in the 70, 80 mile per hour range, at least aloft. And what we're watching is to see, are these winds going to be brought to the surface? And that is possible. That's possible. Let's see. Hey, Will, tell us about what reports you're looking for today with these high winds. What can we expect with that?
Yeah, really any kind of damage to trees, tree limbs, damage to structures. If you see, siding that's been blown off, shingles that have been blown off, damage to structures are going to be really helpful for us as we look to give as much information as we can to the National Weather Service, help them make better warning decisions. Right now, seeing some just very rudimentary vegetation damage in some of the replies. Nothing really crazy. I expect as the high winds you were just discussing move closer into more populated areas of Davidson County, we'll start to get more reports about things getting either blown down or at least blown around.
Yeah, thanks for that, Will. And you can send those reports using hashtag TSpotter on Twitter, and Will's going to send those over to the National Weather Service in chat. Looking back here at the radar, still seeing 60, 70 mile per hour winds possible there around Brawley Parkway, and that's going to be pushing into Bordeaux here in the next minute or so. And that's going to be pretty impressive as it goes into Bordeaux, Haines, Chesapeake, Madison, maybe on up to the Davidson County or Davidson Academy area around Old Hickory Boulevard, Amqui, and that area. So these are the kinds of things we're watching today. It's these embedded areas of damaging straight line winds that can really cause a problem very locally. And we are having some widespread winds outside today with that high wind warning, but we are especially watching these very small localized areas of strong gusty localized winds, as we normally see kind of in these severe thunderstorm warnings. So it looks like Percy Warner Park, another area that could have some localized strong winds over to Horseshoe Bend, Laurel Brook, moving up toward Otter Creek, Forest Hills. And let's talk about how to kind of prepare for this as it comes in. If you're in downtown Nashville, especially to the north, you need to be really inside. You need to be in a decent structure. Don't if you're out in your yard, don't be, get in the shed or something. I mean, go on in a decent structure, and you want to be really away from windows as this comes in. And then it's going to come through. It's going to come through fast, and then we'll be good to go. All right. So let's just take precautions for a while as we watch this come in. And then after it moves out, we're looking at a pretty good afternoon. All right. So let's just watch this for a little while and then take it from there. The line of storms is approaching Dry Creek Union Hill Road up in the Goodlettsville area. It's just passed through Joelton. It's down around the old Fontenelle property right now over toward Haines and moving into downtown Nashville. And the strongest winds appear to be on the back side of this. Now, it doesn't really matter whether it's right inside the rain or just behind the rain. It looks like we could... either way, you might get some strong winds. It looks like a new warning's just been issued for the rest of, or another solid part of Williamson County and pretty much the rest of Davidson County. And that's going to be, again, for the same thing. Spotty 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And these severe thunderstorm warnings are really kind of a level 2 severe thunderstorm warning. They're not your base severe thunderstorm warnings. You see them flashing here, and that's just sort of an indication that these aren't just for 60 mile per hour winds. They're actually perhaps for 70 mile per hour winds. So that could cause some considerable damage if those kinds of winds come over your area. So you definitely want to be in a sturdy structure as this line comes through, and it looks like we're seeing there's some indications around the Nolensville area, south of Burke Hollow, Triune, could have some strong winds there as well in the order of 60 to 70 miles per hour around that area. So that's, that's what that warning is for down that way. All right, so let's check out these velocities again up here in the metro area and right through Bordeaux right now, and then moving into Haines and Chesapeake. Don't worry about the reds and the oranges here, but still that solid area of potentially 70 mile per hour winds pushing through Bordeaux, heading up to the I-24-65 split here in the next few minutes. Not seeing anything as far as a tornado threat right now. This looks pretty textbook straight line wind, and that's a good sign. Although we're never ready to completely let our guard down with that till the storms are out of here and over to our east. But right now it looks like it is a straight line wind deal. Will, am I missing anything here, or does it seem like we're about on track?
No, I think the big story here is going to be, like you mentioned, wind ahead of, during, and after this line of thunderstorms. The wind right now, is its highest right above downtown Nashville, so Fontenelle, Madison area. You can see a chunk of pretty strong winds moving through there right now. Where we have where we're having heavy rain, it's not impossible to see some minor street flooding as this comes through. Some of these rainfall rates are pretty impressive. 60 dBz plus. It looks like in some cases. Thankful, as you mentioned a moment ago, we're not seeing big rotation threat, and that's really good news, because that is certainly something we were concerned about as this storm approached, Andrew.
That's right, and still continuing to see the strongest winds up here just south of Skyline Village, and right around the Chesapeake area. And I can tell you, at my house, I'm within one of these warnings, and the wind has picked up significantly underneath the rain and the downpours there. So, yeah, for sure. So the strongest winds here in the warning, pretty much north of Nashville, Chesapeake over to Good Pasture, Cedar Hill Park, Skyline Village, Davidson Academy. There's that pocket there of some pretty stinking gusty winds, could be on the order of 70 miles per hour. That's definitely strong enough to do some tree and power line damage, and that's going to be moving on up to the Rivergate area and up toward the Goodlettsville area. I'm kind of I'm watching radar here. I'm also watching out my window to see what's going on underneath these things. But this strong area of wind, a particularly strong area of wind, looks to be up right around the, that's going to be, Cedar Hill, that's going to be their Dickerson Road and Old Hickory Boulevard intersection around Cedar Hill Park. That's right where it is now. It's moving up toward Rivergate and about to cross I-65 or right along I-65 here in the next couple of minutes. Let's go back down to the south and look and see how things are going down around eastern Williamson County. Nolensville getting some strong gusty winds right around Page High School as the line comes through. Pretty gnarly rain there around Nolensville and College Grove. But again, it's not going to last long, and then you'll be on the back side of it, which is where we want to be. The winds are still going to be pretty gnarly out there. Winds are still gusting, over 50, 60 miles per hour in West Tennessee. So, Will, it doesn't look like this is going away anytime soon as far as the general wind threat goes.
The general wind threat continues. I mean, isolated within these severe thunderstorm warnings, certainly seeing the potential for damaging wind, but then behind it as well, wind speeds are going to stay elevated until basically sundown this evening.
Yeah, so strong winds will continue today, and don't expect that to completely go away. Once these storms pass, it still could be pretty gusty. All right, approaching Amqui and Rivergate Mall is that area of enhanced winds there, crossing 31W. That's going to be Dickerson Pike, and that's going to be some 50 to 60 mile per hour winds approaching the Amqui and Rivergate Mall area, going up Gallatin Road. And also around the Goodlettsville area, especially the south parts of Goodlettsville. So, boy, that rain is just sideways, Will. It is just sideways.
Yeah, so it's gotten to you. It was here for a while when we first started our broadcast. So just for frame of reference, I'm in northwestern Williamson County. Andrew is in northeastern Williamson County. And from the time we started this stream until now, when we started, it was at my house, and now it's ending at Andrew's house. So a lot of this heavy rain has already crossed a lot of the county. I'm really impressed in the latest radar scans that are in dropping how much ground this storm is covering in between scans. The speed of these storms has increased just since they entered our area. And really, I mean, for a lot of this stuff, we're talking about the heaviest rain about to exit the county on the east side.
That's right, Will. And there's a couple of parts to that. One is that can actually enhance the wind damage because the storms are moving fast and can sort of drive that wind to the ground as they move very quickly. But the good part of it is that they get out of here, and that's what we want. And with this being sort of the main event as far as the storms go today, that's a good sign. And as they move to the east, we can sort of breathe a little bit here behind it and enjoy some strong winds for the afternoon, hopefully not damaging, but it reduces our tornado threat significantly after this line passes. So again, we have this second line back around the Tennessee River, in fact, just crossing the Tennessee River now, but it's not warned anywhere in Tennessee, so we're not expecting major issues out of that. This seems to sort of be the main storm. Yeah, hey, Will, just right on the backside of this rain, the wind just started ripping at my house. It was right on the backside of the rain.
Yep.
And in fact, it's the strongest it's been all day, right here on the backside of it. So that's, I imagine we're not unique to that. I imagine that's kind of the case in lots of places. So right here on the backside of the rain, coming up to I-65 in northern Davidson County, and also down here in Williamson County around Nolensville, Triune, over to College Grove, Rocky Fork areas. As that moves east, you're probably going to get, which there it goes. It's already moving out.
It's already moving. Yep.
It's probably going to be a little bit gnarly on the wind side just for a little while. These winds tend to be right on the back side of this rain.
Yep.
So
you mentioned that line that is back by the Tennessee River. The expectation is that it goes northeast and maybe scrapes part of the county, but mostly misses Davidson County, probably misses Williamson County entirely, and don't be fooled into thinking that that's going to be the end of it. Right? Those winds will continue. You heard
that's right. Actually, let me show you something here, Will. This is TBNA. So this is, we're getting a great view of it here at the moment from TBNA, which is in the north side of Nolensville. Let me go up to current time, and you can really see right here on the back side of this rain. Look at this. There's these little pockets here.
Yep.
In fact, there's one here moving north. It just crossed Osborne Road, moving up toward the Nolensville area. Winds here at 63 miles per hour at 200 feet off the ground. That's pretty certain that's going to be reaching the surface, and that's going to be that's coming through the Burke Hollow area and then over toward Nolensville proper there. But again, these are south to north moving pockets of very gusty winds, and again, they're on the back side of that rain. Yep. As it moves out. So, yeah, Will, TBNA's got a great look at that, and that looks to be what's happening there coming into Nolensville.
So, if you could do your OHX reflect, I want to point out, again, we talked about how quickly these storms have moved to the east. If you look at the boundaries for Davidson County, you can see really only barely the eastern side of the county still has heavy rain activity. Most of the heavy rain activity has moved out of Williamson County as well. So that's really good news. And as these storms move east, I think along with it are a lot of our tornado threat. Andrew, wouldn't you agree?
I would. I think this was sort of the axis of instability that we were watching to see if it was going to develop in time to get to us. Or if it was going to develop more right on top of us, or if it was going to develop more to our east. And I think what we've seen, Will, is really what we've expected, and that is that the instability would become available really as it crossed us. And so there were a lot of question marks as to whether, would we get development that would happen right on top of us that we'd need to watch for. And in a way, we've kind of seen that. I mean, the winds really kind
Yep.
of ramped up on this thing as it approached I-65.
Yep.
And so we were very cautious. We tried to be very cautious on making calls as to whether we were out of the woods or not as it approached, because there's a very real possibility this line of storms really ramps up here in the next half hour as it heads just to our east. So
Yep.
it's too close to make those kinds of calls, and we'll hopefully we've avoided some of the worst wind damage here. We'll have to see, but send us your reports if you have any wind damage. Use
Yep.
hashtag T-Spotter. I'm sitting here looking at them, Will. I
And
don't.
so, yeah, I see a tree that got snapped in Madison. Thanks to Ryan Huber for sending that in. Looks like, branch or the trunk bifurcated and then snapped at the split. Not seeing a whole lot of other damage. Got another tree down report, and really that's good news so far. Was expecting a lot more tree reports, a lot more power line reports. Right now, on radar, it looks like the heaviest rain is going through, just exiting Inglewood, Shelby Bottoms, headed toward Old Hickory, went through the Opry Mills area, and maybe we'll have some additional reports that come in once people kind of emerge following that. Speaking of emerging following that, if you look over my right shoulder here, you can see that the sun is coming in through some of these windows that face south on that wall. Heard some people in Twitter and on our chat here saying, "Hey, the sun's coming out. That can't be good," because they hear us talk about on big convective days, Andrew, how, oh, well, we really don't want to see the sun. It's going to add storm fuel. Do you want to talk about how that relates to today?
Yes. So the storm fuel that we have been watching really was, as we were saying, it sort of was developing as the day went on. And so the available storm fuel really didn't have any this morning. And so that was the available storm fuel was going to come out ahead of this line and really help fuel the line as it moved to the east. And so what we were expecting was the really the instability, the storm fuel to arrive as the storms got here. So would the storms have time to really beef up as they crossed I-65 or as they approached Williamson County or whatever? We didn't really, you can't pin down exactly when that happens. And so it appears that hopefully the instability really didn't get to us quite in time, and hopefully we escaped the worst of the wind damage. I'm sitting here looking at NES power reports. I'm especially interested in that area up there around the 2465 split. Looks like there's about almost 7,000 customers, almost 7,000 meters without power up there in the kind of the northern part of Davidson County. So hopefully not too bad, but that typically indicates some trees come down. Just to give you some perspective on that number, about 7,000. I think back in the some people have been kind of comparing this to the derecho of May 3rd of 2020, but this isn't a good comparison whatsoever. I believe we had over 100,000 customers just in the NES area without power from that. So just looking at the numbers, we're sitting in pretty good shape there. But we definitely hope that we've escaped some of the wind damage, at least the worst of it, up that way.
And so giving it all clear today is going to be a little bit tricky, right? Because while we can give an all clear on that tornado threat that we wrote about over the last couple of days and that we talked about this morning, as these storms move to the east, we can't give an all clear on the damaging wind threat, right? And so that damaging wind threat will persist through about 6 o'clock tonight. We likely won't see much, if any, more rain today. But gusty winds, again, there's still a high wind warning in effect until 6. So the all clear is a little bit dependent on what you're asking to be cleared from. Is it
A
just the
little bit,
tornado
kind of, sort
threat?
of.
Yeah, it's really kind of, sort of, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we already saw a severe thunderstorm warning drop off for the northern part of Davidson County. Andrew, the expectation on this severe thunderstorm warning below it's going to go until 12:15, but it wouldn't surprise me to see it either trimmed back or allowed to expire early and redrawn.
That's entirely possible. The only reason they might keep this going the full time is, again, those winds that are coming right on the back side of that rain. And so while, typically we would look at the reflectivities here and we would say, oh, the threat is now over in Wilson County or down into Rutherford County here. Yeah, but what we can't see with this view here is that, at least at my house when this came through, the strongest winds of that line were on the backside of that rain after the rain had moved out. So there still could be some very gusty winds here around the Nolensville Triune area, maybe back toward Franklin, but the 70-mile-per-hour winds, it actually, let's see, looks like they are, I might be redrawing that warning a little bit. So they, the warning may change here in just a second. It looks like they've redrawn it. So, yeah, in fact, it excludes Williamson County now. So Williamson County is all clear, good to go. There's your new warning polygon, or your revised warning polygon. It includes just a little bit of Davidson there on the east side, but Williamson County, you're good to go. Some gusty winds continue for a while. The high wind warning continues till 6. And then Davidson County up here, really, you'll be in the clear here in just a little bit. You got just a little bit of that line still coming through the Donaldson, Hermitage areas, right there around, that's going to be Old Hickory Boulevard and Lebanon Road. That intersection there, you got a little bit of that line still to come through, and so they're not ready to give up the polygon there quite yet for the northern or northeastern part of Davidson County. But Williamson County is good to go. And that's great news. Will, this thing has flown through here. It's gone
really
fast.
did. A lot faster than I thought it would. I thought it would take maybe 45 minutes or so to cross. But how long have we been live, Andrew? I don't know if you have a clock on that, but
less than 30 minutes.
This has been a pretty quick one, right?
Yeah.
Now, continue to stay tuned to us as we collect reports that may be caused by damaging wind later this afternoon. Make sure you send reports in on T-Spotter. And as I mentioned, that number of reports coming in, seeing down trees, down power lines, multiple reports of large limbs down. So we'll be sending all this data over to the Weather Service and making sure they can use it to make great decisions. If you look at radar on our website or on an app on your phone and you see additional rain to our west, know that we expect that rain to move up to the east and miss us to the north. So not really expecting that to cause any issues for us. If you have family and loved ones that live on the Cumberland Plateau, that live east of Davidson, Williamson counties, make sure that they're staying weather aware. We do anticipate these storms to intensify as they move east. Make sure you pay attention to great outlets like Wilson Severe Weather and some of the other T-Spotter partners that are to our east.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Will referred to that second line back there, and it looks like there's a new warning that just got issued here, Will, and that's going to be for just a sliver of Davidson County. Again, it doesn't include much, but it did pop up here for Davidson, Robertson, Sumner. And that's going to be a new warning that goes until 12:15. But it's a small area, so clearly they are keeping Davidson going here because of this little area right here around Lakewood, Hendersonville.
You see that?
Right around, Old
Yeah.
Hickory Lake. There's that little area right there coming
Little
down
appendage
toward
there.
Hermitage, and there could be some gusty winds associated with that. So yeah, well, really, the Weather Service's radar is not going to have a good read on that because it'd be blowing right perpendicular to it.
Yep.
But clearly, that's the idea of kind of keeping Davidson included here. Is they're just not quite out of it up there in the northeastern part. So we're gonna watch that move on by. But we're looking pretty good everywhere else.
Yep.
And
And so I'm giving the all clear on Twitter, and we can probably wrap things up here.
yeah. Yeah, I think the message here is strong winds will continue through the day, and we will be seeking reports all day. So just because we're off YouTube Live doesn't mean, all is well. Everybody go do about your stuff. I mean, you can, but keep in mind that we're still seeking reports. If you do see damage, let us know. We're still here. But it looks like the main threat has pushed off to our east. Checking anything else that we need to look at before we go. They're talking about Bedford County. I think we're good, Will.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you continue to follow us on Twitter, Instagram for the latest information we can bring. Great job, Andrew. Thanks a bunch.